I woke up to strange noises coming from my kitchen. Having returned early from my business trip, the last thing I expected was finding someone in my house. As I cautiously approached, I discovered an unknown man casually cooking breakfast using my groceries. When confronted, he introduced himself as Jackson, my girlfriend Amanda's ex-boyfriend. Showing me the keys, he explained Amanda gave them to him so he could crash for a few days. I stood there dumbfounded. Amanda and I had only been together for 6 months, and I had just given her my keys as a symbol of trust. Before I tell you how this home invasion turned into the most painful betrayal of my life, let me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe to join me on this journey of heartbreak and redemption. Before everything fell apart, my life was on a steady upward trajectory. I had built a successful career as a software developer at Rivertech Solutions, a growing company in Portland. My hard work had recently paid off with a promotion to senior developer, though it came with the new responsibility of occasional business travel to meet with clients. Relationship-wise, I was cautious. My previous marriage had ended 3 years earlier when my ex-wife decided she wanted a different life than the one we had built together. The divorce left me with some trust issues, but I was working through them. I met Amanda at my friend Jake's summer barbecue. She arrived with a mutual friend, and I noticed her immediately. She had this infectious laugh and an easy way about her that drew people in. We ended up talking by the grill about our shared love for hiking the Pacific Northwest trails and experimenting with cooking. "You should try my jalapeno honey-glazed salmon sometime," I told her. "Only if you let me show you my family's secret pasta recipe." In return, she countered with a smile. We exchanged numbers, and by the end of the week we were having dinner at my place. I cooked the salmon as promised, and she seemed genuinely impressed. There was an easiness between us that I hadn't felt in a long time. Amanda was a freelance photographer with an artistic eye that I admired. She specialized in nature photography but took portrait gigs to pay the bills. Her apartment walls were covered with stunning landscapes that made me see familiar places through new eyes. Our relationship progressed naturally over the following months. We spent weekends exploring hiking trails, trying new restaurants, or cooking elaborate meals together. She introduced me to her artsy friends, and I brought her into my circle of tech colleagues and old college buddies. Everyone seemed to think we were a good match. There were moments when Amanda mentioned a difficult breakup in her past, but she never went into details. I respected her privacy, figuring she would share more when she was ready. My focus was on building our relationship, not dwelling on her past. My ex had some issues she mentioned once when we passed a homeless man who reminded her of someone. It was complicated and messy when it ended. I simply nodded and changed the subject, not wanting to press her on something that clearly made her uncomfortable. In retrospect, that was my first mistake. I should have asked more questions. As our 6-month anniversary approached, I found myself thinking about taking the next step in our relationship. Amanda had been staying over more frequently, leaving a toothbrush and some clothes at my place. She had also been dropping hints about wanting more commitment. "It would be nice not to have to pack a bag every time I want to stay over," she mentioned one evening as we watched a movie on my couch. I had been hesitant about giving someone keys to my home again. After my divorce, my house became my sanctuary, the one place that was completely mine. But Amanda had become an important part of my life, and I wanted her to feel welcome. On our 6-month anniversary, I took her to Riverfront, an upscale restaurant overlooking the city. After dinner, I handed her a small gift box. "What's this?" she asked, her eyes lighting up. "Open it and see," I replied, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Inside was a set of keys to my house, tied with a small red ribbon. "Donnie, are you sure?" Her voice was soft, almost reverent. "I am. I want you to feel like my home is your home too." She leaned across the table and kissed me, tears in her eyes. "This means so much to me. I promise I will respect your trust." That moment felt significant, like we were moving forward together, based on mutual respect and care. I had no idea that those keys would be the instrument of betrayal just weeks later. The Chicago business trip was scheduled for 5 days. My company was pitching to a major potential client, and as the newly promoted senior developer, I needed to be there to answer technical questions about our product. The first 2 days went well with productive meetings and positive feedback from the client. During those days, my communication with Amanda felt off. Her texts were briefer than usual, often hours apart. When I called in the evenings, she would answer, but claimed she couldn't talk long due to poor reception or being in the middle of something. "Everything okay?" I asked during one short call. "Of course, just super busy with a last-minute wedding photography gig," she explained. "The reception is awful in this venue." I thought I heard male laughter in the background, but she quickly explained it was the wedding party. Something felt off, but I dismissed my concerns as paranoia from past relationship wounds. On the third day, we wrapped up the deal earlier than expected. The client signed the contract impressed by our presentation and answers to their technical questions. My boss was ecstatic. "Great job, Donnie. Why don't you head home early? You deserve it after landing this account." I decided to surprise Amanda. I booked an earlier flight and didn't tell her, thinking it would be nice to show up unexpectedly. Another mistake I would soon regret. I arrived home around 7:30 the morning after an early flight. My house appeared normal from the outside, though I noticed some unfamiliar shoes by the door as I entered. Initially, I thought Amanda might have stayed over and was still asleep. Then I heard sounds from the kitchen. The clanking of pans, the refrigerator opening and closing, and a male voice humming a tune I didn't recognize. Moving quietly through my own home, I rounded the corner to my kitchen and froze. A stranger stood at my stove, cooking eggs in my favorite pan, wearing nothing but sweatpants. He was tall with unkempt dark hair and a patchy beard. A half-empty beer sat on the counter beside him despite the early hour. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded, startling him. He turned, spatula in hand, looking more annoyed than surprised. "Oh, you must be Donnie. Amanda said you wouldn't be back until Friday." I asked who you are and what you're doing in my house. I repeated, anger building. "Jackson," he replied casually, turning back to the eggs. "Amanda's friend. She let me crash here for a bit since my landlord kicked me out. Want some eggs? Using these fancy organic ones from your fridge." I stepped forward and turned off the stove. "Show me how you got in here." With an exaggerated sigh, Jackson reached into his pocket and pulled out a keychain. On it was a key to my front door, along with the distinctive blue keychain I had given Amanda. "Amanda gave you my keys?" I asked, though the evidence was right in front of me. "Yeah, man. Said it was cool if I stayed here while you were gone. Been here about a week now." He took a swig of his beer. "Nice place, by the way. Great TV setup. A week." He had been living in my house for a week. I felt sick. "Where's Amanda now?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Grocery run. She should be back soon." He leaned against my counter. "Look, I get this is weird, but Amanda and I go way back. When I lost my job and got evicted, she stepped up, said her new boyfriend would understand." Before I could respond, I heard the front door open, and Amanda's voice called out, "Jackson. They were out of the beer you like, but I got that IPA instead." She walked into the kitchen carrying grocery bags, stopping abruptly when she saw me. The color drained from her face. "Donnie, you're home early." She set the bags down slowly. "I can explain this." "Please do," I replied, my voice unnaturally calm. "Explain why your ex-boyfriend is living in my house using keys I gave you." Amanda glanced between Jackson and me, her mind visibly racing for an acceptable explanation. "It's a temporary situation. Jackson had nowhere to go after his eviction, and I couldn't just let him be homeless. So you gave him access to my home without asking me. For over a week," I pointed to the beer in his hand. "And you're buying him groceries with whose money?" "Look, I was going to tell you," Amanda insisted, her voice taking on a defensive edge. "But you were so busy with this big client and I knew how stressed you were. I didn't want to add to that." "That's not your decision to make, Amanda," I said firmly. "This is my house." "Those are my keys that I trusted you with," Jackson interrupted. Maybe I should give you two some privacy." He made no move to leave the kitchen, however. "No," I said, turning to him. "Actually, you need to pack whatever things you have here and leave. Now." This is when Amanda's demeanor changed completely. Her apologetic expression hardened into defiance. "Donnie, you can't just kick him out. He has nowhere to go." "That's not my problem," I replied. "What is my problem is finding a stranger living in my house without my knowledge or permission." I started walking through my home, discovering signs of Jackson everywhere. His clothes were strewn across the guest room. His toiletries cluttered my bathroom counter. A guitar I didn't own leaned against my living room wall. Beer cans and takeout containers filled my trash can. While checking the guest room, I noticed some photos on Amanda's phone that she had left charging. Curiosity and suspicion made me look. There were several pictures of Amanda and Jackson together taken in my house during the past week. They were sitting close on my couch, smiling at the camera, with my living room clearly visible in the background. The timestamps matched the days I had been away. When I returned to the kitchen, my neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez was at the door talking to Amanda. "Oh, Donnie, you're back," she said when she saw me. "I was just returning the baking dish Amanda borrowed for you two's dinner party last night." "Dinner party?" I looked at Amanda, whose face had gone pale again. After Mrs. Rodriguez left, I confronted Amanda. "You had a dinner party in my home. With him, it was just a small gathering," Amanda said weakly. "Just a few friends." "How many of your friends think it's normal that you're living here with your ex while I'm away?" I asked. "Did you tell them I knew about this arrangement?" Her silence was answer enough. "I talked to your other neighbors too," Jackson added unhelpfully. "Cool people?" "That guy Mike across the street invited us to his barbecue next weekend." The betrayal deepened with each revelation. Amanda had not only moved her ex into my home, but had also integrated him into my neighborhood and social circle, all while I was none the wiser. "Jackson, I'm not asking anymore. You need to leave my house. Today." My tone left no room for argument. That's when Amanda delivered her ultimatum. Standing between me and Jackson, she crossed her arms and declared, "If he goes, I go too. You need to choose Donnie." The room fell silent. In that moment, I saw everything clearly. This wasn't just about unauthorized house guests or misused keys. This was about respect, trust, and loyalty, all of which Amanda had violated. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, giving her one last chance to reconsider her position. "Completely serious," she replied, moving closer to Jackson. "He needs me right now, and I'm not abandoning him just because you're being unreasonable." Jackson smirked behind her, placing a possessive hand on her shoulder. The gesture spoke volumes about their relationship, confirming my worst suspicions. I took a deep breath and made my decision. "Then you both can leave," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. "I want my keys back, and I want you both out of my house by the end of the day." The smirk vanished from Jackson's face, replaced by surprise. Amanda's confident stance faltered. "Donnie, you don't mean that," she stammered. "You're just angry right now." "No, Amanda. I've never been more clear-headed," I replied. "You brought your ex-boyfriend into my home, without permission, lied about it, and now you're choosing him over me. There's nothing to discuss." I walked to my front door and held out my hand. "Keys. Now." After a moment of tense silence, Amanda reluctantly removed my keys from her purse and placed them in my palm. The small action felt enormously significant. The trust those keys represented was irrevocably broken. "You have until 5 p.m. to get your things and leave." I told them both, then added to Amanda, "I'll put whatever you can't take now in boxes. You can arrange to pick them up later." Once they both left the room to gather their belongings, I immediately called a locksmith. I wasn't taking any chances. By noon, I had new locks on all my doors, effectively shutting them out of my life as well as my home. The next few hours were painful. Amanda alternated between crying, pleading, and trying to justify her actions. Jackson mostly stayed silent, his earlier smugness replaced by the realization that his comfortable living situation was ending. "We've been together for 6 months," Amanda argued tearfully. "Are you really throwing all that away because I helped out a friend?" "He's not just a friend, Amanda. He's your ex," I reminded her. "And yes, I'm ending this relationship because you broke my trust in a fundamental way. You chose him over me the moment you gave him my keys without asking." As they packed, more truths emerged. Jackson had been unemployed for months before his eviction, not days as Amanda had claimed. They had dated for 3 years, not the brief relationship she had described to me. Most painfully, it became clear that their relationship had never fully ended even as she dated me. By late afternoon, they were scrambling to find somewhere to go. Amanda's apartment had been sublet while she gradually moved more things to my place, a detail she had conveniently omitted. Jackson clearly had no resources of his own. "Can we just stay one more night?" Amanda asked, her voice small. "We don't have anywhere to go right now. That's not my problem." I echoed her earlier words about my feelings. "You should have thought about the consequences before you betrayed my trust." Amanda's attempts at manipulation grew more desperate. "After everything we've shared, you're just going to throw me out on the street. What happened to the man who gave me his keys because he cared about me? He woke up to find his girlfriend had given those same keys to her." "Ex-boyfriend," I replied. "And now he's setting boundaries." Jackson, perhaps realizing he was the cause of her housing crisis, finally showed his true colors. "This is ridiculous." "Amanda," he snapped. "Call Sarah. She has that spare room. Tell her we need it now." The commanding tone revealed a dynamic I hadn't seen before. Amanda immediately reached for her phone to call this Sarah person, her earlier defiance toward me transforming into compliance toward him. By 5 p.m. They were loading the last of their things into Amanda's car. She made one final attempt to change my mind, approaching me with tears streaming down her face. "I made a terrible mistake, Donnie. Please don't end things like this." Looking into her eyes, I felt a complex mix of emotions, but certainty was the strongest. "Yes, you did make a mistake. Several, actually. But letting you both leave isn't one of mine." As they drove away, Amanda in tears, and Jackson already arguing with her about something, I closed my door and locked it with my new keys. The house felt emptier than it ever had, but also somehow cleaner, as if a toxin had been removed. The first week alone was the hardest. I alternated between anger, hurt, and self-doubt. Had I overreacted? Should I have given her another chance? These questions plagued me especially late at night, when the house felt too quiet. But my friends rallied around me once they heard what happened. Jake, whose barbecue had started this whole saga, came over with pizza and beer the day after the confrontation. "You did the right thing, man," he assured me. "She violated your trust in one of the worst ways possible. No one thinks you overreacted." Through conversations with friends, I discovered more lies Amanda had told. Small items of mine had gone missing, which I had attributed to normal misplacement. My friends confirmed seeing Jackson wearing my jackets and using my expensive headphones around town before I even knew he existed. There were also financial concerns. My credit card showed charges I didn't recognize at restaurants I'd never visited during times I was out of town. Amanda had my card information for emergencies, another trust she had apparently abused. Despite this mounting evidence of betrayal, there were moments of weakness. Late one night, I found myself with my phone in hand, Amanda's number on the screen. I nearly called her seeking closure, or explanation, or maybe even reconciliation. Instead, I put the phone down and scheduled an appointment with a therapist the next morning. Dr. Marshall helped me process the betrayal and examine patterns in my relationships. "You gave trust readily, which isn't a flaw," she told me. The issue was that Amanda didn't value that trust. In healthy relationships, trust is reciprocal and respected. Over the following weeks, I focused on rebuilding my routines and reclaiming my space. I rearranged furniture, repainted a wall that had always bothered me, and invested in a new home security system complete with cameras. These changes helped make the house feel like mine again, not a place defined by betrayal. About 2 months after the incident, I ran into Taylor, a mutual friend who had known Amanda before me. She seemed hesitant to talk at first, but eventually shared some information. "I thought you should know Amanda and Jackson aren't doing well," she said cautiously. "He's still unemployed, and she's supporting both of them with her photography business. They're staying at Sarah's place, but she wants them out because they're fighting all the time." I thanked her for the information, but assured her I wasn't interested in Amanda's current troubles. Still, I'd be lying if I said it didn't provide some validation for my decision. As the weeks passed, more reports filtered through our mutual social circle. Jackson had apparently borrowed money from Amanda repeatedly without repayment. He'd been controlling which jobs she took, insisting she turn down gigs that required travel. Friends had witnessed him speaking to her dismissively in public, a stark contrast to how I had treated her. He yelled at her at Coffee Bean last week, Jake's girlfriend reported. Something about her spending too much on groceries when she should be saving for his new guitar. Everyone was uncomfortable. While I took no pleasure in Amanda's suffering, these stories confirmed what I had glimpsed in their dynamic. Jackson was using Amanda just as they had both used me. The difference was that I had escaped the cycle. Exactly 3 months after I'd asked Amanda and Jackson to leave, my doorbell rang on a Sunday afternoon. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I checked my new security camera before opening the door. Amanda stood on my porch alone. She looked different, thinner with dark circles under her eyes, and none of the vibrant energy that had first attracted me to her. I considered not answering, but decided I was strong enough now to face whatever this was. "Donnie," she said when I opened the door, her voice catching. "Thank you for seeing me. What do you want, Amanda?" I kept my tone neutral, not inviting her in. "I just need to talk to you. Please." Her eyes filled with tears. 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let her in, but we remained standing in the entryway. I didn't want her to get comfortable, to feel welcomed back into a space she had violated. "Jackson left me," she blurted out as soon as the door closed. "He used me, Donnie. He took my money, maxed out my credit cards, and then disappeared with Sarah, my supposed friend. You were right about him all along." I listened without comment as she detailed the past 3 months. How Jackson had convinced her to pay for everything while he looked for work that never materialized. How he'd isolated her from friends who questioned their relationship. How he'd finally left her with thousands in debt and a damaged rental history. "I made the biggest mistake of my life choosing him over you," she said, tears flowing freely now. "You were kind, successful, respectful. You were building a life that included me, and I threw it all away for someone who never really cared about me at all." As she spoke, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. There was a small vindicated part of me that wanted to say, "I told you so." There was also a flicker of the affection I had once felt for her. But mostly I felt pity and a firm resolve. "I know I have no right to ask this," Amanda continued, wiping her eyes, "but I have nowhere else to go. My parents won't take me in because of the debt, and none of my friends trust me anymore. Could I stay here just until I find a place? I promise I would respect your boundaries this time." There it was, the real reason for her visit. Not to make amends, but because she needed something from me again. "Amanda," I said gently but firmly, "I'm sorry for what you're going through. Truly. No one deserves to be used and discarded like that. But I can't let you stay here." Her face fell. "Because you haven't forgiven me." "It's not about forgiveness," I explained. "It's about recognizing that we want different things and have different values. You broke my trust in a fundamental way. That's not something we can just move past." "But I've changed," she insisted. "Jackson taught me what a real betrayal feels like. I would never do anything like that again." "Maybe you have changed," I acknowledged. "And I hope things get better for you. But that doesn't mean we should be together, or that I should take responsibility for your situation now." Amanda's demeanor shifted then from pleading to anger. So that's it. After everything we shared, you're just going to leave me homeless. You're not homeless because of me, Amanda. You're dealing with the consequences of choices you made. I moved toward the door. I can give you the number of a shelter that might help or loan you money for a hotel for a few nights, but you can't stay here. Her anger dissolved back into tears. I really did love you, Donnie. In my way. I just didn't know how to be what you needed. What I needed was honesty and respect. I said simply, that's all anyone needs in a relationship. After she left with a small loan for temporary housing that I didn't expect to be repaid, I sat on my porch for a long time. I felt lighter somehow, as if the final thread connecting me to that painful chapter had been severed. Over the next few months, I continued focusing on myself. My promotion at work led to more responsibilities and a significant raise. I expanded my hiking hobby into weekend backpacking trips, sometimes alone and sometimes with friends. I even took a cooking class to improve my skills beyond the few signature dishes I had mastered. Most importantly, I continued therapy with Dr. Marshall, who helped me recognize that Amanda's betrayal wasn't a reflection of my worth but of her character. The right person, she told me, will value your trust as the gift it is. I started dating again, cautiously at first. I was transparent about my past experience, using it as a way to discuss boundaries and expectations early on. Some potential relationships fizzled after these conversations, which I came to see as a positive filtering mechanism. 6 months after Amanda's final visit, I met Natalie at a photography exhibition downtown. She was a graphic designer who appreciated art, but as she put it, couldn't take a decent photo to save my life. We started talking about one of the landscape pieces, and the conversation flowed naturally from there. Our relationship developed slowly and respectfully. When I eventually told her about my experience with Amanda and Jackson, she was appropriately appalled, but also insightful. Keys are a big deal, she said. They're not just metal. They're trust made physical. When we reached the point in our relationship where staying over became regular, Natalie never pushed for keys. Instead, she suggested, maybe we could set up a lockbox. That way I can get in when we plan for me to be here, but you maintain control of who has access and when. Her suggestion, which balanced convenience with respect for my boundaries, showed me what a healthy relationship could look like. It was about finding solutions that worked for both people, not one person imposing their needs on the other. Looking back now, I can see that losing Amanda was actually finding myself. I learned to value my own boundaries, to recognize red flags, and to understand that being alone is far better than being with someone who doesn't truly respect you. If you have ever experienced betrayal, or are currently in a relationship where your boundaries are being tested, remember that you always have the power to choose yourself. True love doesn't ask you to compromise your self-respect. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from those who don't value what you bring to the table. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between a relationship and your self-respect? How did it turn out for you in the long run? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening. And remember that the right people will treasure your trust, not test it.